Humans are social creatures. That's what every psychology book will tell you. Connection is supposed to be our default setting, the invisible thread that keeps us sane. But what happens when that thread snaps? When you wake up and realize there's no one to text, no one to call, no one who truly knows you. For some people, loneliness isn't a temporary phase. It's a lifestyle they never chose, but somehow ended up living. This isn't about being introverted. It's not about enjoying your own company. This is about something deeper, something that burrows into your mind, rewires the way you see the world, and quietly convinces you that you don't belong in it. So today, let's go beneath the surface, into the hidden psychology of people who have no friends. What causes it? What it does to the human mind? And most importantly, whether you can find your way back. Before we start, if you're interested in understanding the hidden patterns of human behavior, subscribe to Beneath Patterns. It helps more than you realize. And who knows, maybe learning about yourself is the first step toward connection. We tend to think loneliness is simple. It means being alone, but that's not true. Loneliness isn't measured in the number of people around you. It's measured in the quality of those connections, the emotional resonance you share. You can sit in a room full of people and still feel like a ghost. You can laugh with friends and still feel like an outsider. According to psychologist John Cacioppo, loneliness is more than an emotion. It's a biological signal, like hunger or thirst. It tells your brain you're missing something vital. The problem? Most people who've been lonely for a long time stop hearing the signal. It fades, it becomes background noise, and eventually they confuse isolation with peace. It's the mind's way of protecting itself. When you're starved of connection long enough, you start to rationalize it, convincing yourself that you like being alone. But beneath that logic, something begins to decay. Let's rewind to the psychology of how this starts. Nobody is born friendless. Children are hardwired for play, imitation, and belonging. But somewhere along the way, something breaks the pattern. For some, it begins in childhood, growing up in homes where emotions weren't safe, where love was conditional, where expressing yourself led to rejection or ridicule. Psychologists call this insecure attachment, when your early relationships teach you that people can't be trusted. So you learn to cope by shutting down. You become self-reliant, independent, capable. But underneath all that strength, there's a quiet fear. If you let people get close, they'll leave, or worse, they'll see who you really are. So you build walls instead of bridges. You push people away before they have the chance to hurt you, and by the time you realize those walls have become a prison, it's already too late. The psychologist Carl Rogers once said that the greatest barrier to connection is the fear of being known, because being known means being vulnerable, and vulnerability feels dangerous when your past taught you that closeness equals pain. So you hide behind busyness, sarcasm, humor, or silence, until eventually people stop trying. Here's where the psychology gets darker. When you go long enough without meaningful connection, your brain literally begins to change. Functional MRI studies show that chronic loneliness activates the same regions as physical pain. That's why isolation doesn't just feel sad, it feels wrong. But the cruel irony? The lonelier you get, the harder it becomes to connect. Your brain enters what researchers call social hypervigilance, a heightened sensitivity to rejection. You start overanalyzing every interaction. You assume people are judging you. You convince yourself they don't really want you there. So you retreat further. You cancel plans, you ghost messages, you pretend you're busy, but really, you're just protecting yourself from another disappointment. This is where loneliness becomes self-reinforcing. The more you avoid connection, the more awkward and foreign it feels when it's finally offered. It's not that you hate people, you just don't know how to exist around them anymore. You may even start believing a quiet lie that you're different, that you're unlikable, that everyone else has something you don't. And once that belief hardens, it becomes your identity. People with no friends aren't all the same, but psychologists have noticed certain recurring traits, not flaws, but coping mechanisms. One is high self-awareness. You're often overly conscious of how you come across, replaying conversations in your head. That constant self-monitoring creates anxiety, and anxiety kills spontaneity, which is essential for connection. Another is perfectionism, the idea that you have to be impressive to be loved. So you curate yourself, you hide your flaws, you speak less, listen more, never wanting to burden anyone. But connection requires imperfection, the messy, unfiltered truth of who you are. And when you hide that, people sense the distance, even if they can't name it. Then there's mistrust, not necessarily of others, but of your own worth. The subtle belief that if people really knew you, they'd walk away, so you save them the trouble. And finally, there's learned independence, the ability to survive without anyone. It's a strength until it isn't, because being unneeded eventually becomes being unseen. Some people say, "I prefer being alone," and sometimes that's true, but often it's a survival mechanism disguised as preference. The psychologist Abraham Maslow believed humans have a hierarchy of needs, and belonging sits right in the middle. It's not optional, it's part of being human. But when belonging feels impossible, the mind does something clever. It reframes solitude as power. I don't need anyone. I'm better off alone. I just don't relate to people. It's easier to believe that than to admit you're starving for something you can't seem to find. And yet, beneath that numbness, the longing never really dies. It just goes quiet. You still catch yourself imagining deep conversations, old friendships, what it might feel like to be truly understood. Then you shake it off, call it fantasy, and get back to being fine. But you're not fine. You're surviving. And that's not the same as living. When you live without real friendship for too long, the effects ripple into every part of life. Emotionally, you become detached. You stop sharing feelings because you assume no one cares. You stop asking for help because you assume it won't come. Cognitively, your inner voice becomes louder, sometimes cruel. You overthink small things because there's no one to reality check you. Physically, loneliness increases stress hormones like cortisol, which raises the risk of heart disease, insomnia, and depression. But perhaps the worst part is existential. Without friendship, you lose mirrors, the reflections that remind you who you are. Friendship isn't just company, it's identity. It's how you learn what you mean to other people. And without that feedback, you start to disappear, not physically, but emotionally. If this sounds familiar, it's not because you're broken, it's because you're human. Here's the good news: brains are plastic. They change, and so can you. Rebuilding connection doesn't start with other people. It starts with awareness, noticing the patterns you built to protect yourself and realizing they no longer serve you. Maybe you avoid people because you're afraid of rejection. But what if rejection isn't proof you're unworthy? What if it's proof you tried? Maybe you've convinced yourself that nobody understands you. But understanding starts with you being willing to be seen. Psychologist Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that includes the parts of you that crave closeness, no matter how long you've suppressed them. It's not about forcing yourself to socialize or pretending to be outgoing. It's about letting people find you again, by showing up as someone real, because authenticity is magnetic. And when you start living without armor, connection often follows quietly behind. You can't rebuild years of isolation overnight, but there are steps. Step 1. Practice micro-connection. Say hello to the cashier, smile at a stranger, compliment someone online. These tiny moments rewire your brain's social circuitry. They remind you the world isn't as closed off as it seems. Step 2. Find shared spaces, not forced friendships. Join something, an online group, a local class, a forum for your interests. You don't have to make friends. You just have to exist around others long enough for your walls to lower. Step 3. Heal your self-concept. You can't connect authentically if you secretly dislike yourself. Do the inner work, therapy, journaling, or solitude that isn't self-punishment, but self-discovery. Step 4. Be patient. Real connection takes time. And when you've been alone for years, even small interactions can feel exhausting. That's okay. The point isn't to rush it, it's to stay open. And while you're on this journey, subscribe to Beneath Patterns. Because understanding yourself isn't just psychology, it's the first step toward belonging again. Loneliness lies to you. It tells you nobody would notice if you vanished. It whispers that you're unlovable, awkward, too quiet, too intense, too something. But the truth is, everyone has felt unseen at some point. Even the most social people have moments of invisible ache. The difference is, some people keep reaching out, and others stop trying. If you've stopped, this is your reminder to try again. You're not beyond connection. You're not defective. You're just human, and you've been protecting yourself in the only way you knew how. But you can start again. With one conversation, one message, one honest moment. Because beneath all your defenses, your loneliness isn't proof of failure. It's proof of your capacity to care. It means you're still capable of wanting love, even when it's hard to believe in it. So take that as a sign of hope. Because the moment you understand your loneliness, you're no longer entirely alone in it. If this spoke to you, if you recognized pieces of yourself in these words, subscribe to Beneath Patterns. Here, we explore the quiet truths most people ignore, not to judge, but to understand. Because understanding is connection, and connection is what keeps us alive.